Now, the congenital are ones which are a person is inheriting them from the parents. The person has those diseases by birth. Okay, and acquired are which appear in his body later on after his birth. Right, he's not born with them. So the acquired diseases are also of two types. That is, they are infectious and non-infectious. Right. Now, infectious are the ones which spread. Infection means the infection spreads. And how does the infection spread? Either through air or water or food or some insects or animals and some physical contact. Right? Whereas non-infectious are the ones which are maybe due to malfunctioning of a body or due to some deficiency of some nutrients and so on, or some hormonal imbalance or some allergies or some cancer. Right? So these are the ones which will not be passed on from one person to another. So a person who's having diabetes, supposing, okay, will not, if a person sitting next to him is definitely not to be getting diabetes, because it is a non-infectious disease, because there's something wrong with the secretion of the hormone insulin. So that is why the person becomes diabetic and the sugar level goes high in the blood and so on. Whereas the infectious diseases, the various agents are either air or water or food or some insects and animals and even physical contact. Now, the infectious diseases, what are the various causative organisms? What are they? So these are the microorganisms. They are the bacteria, the viruses, the protozoa, the fungi and the worms. So these are the infectious agents which are spreading those diseases, which are communicable, which are the responsible for the communicable diseases. Okay, so this is in fact a small flow chart of the various types of diseases. Now we talk about mainly the diseases of two types. That is, they are acute and chronic diseases. Okay, now what are acute and chronic diseases? Now, let's understand the difference between the acute and chronic diseases. So it's very simple. The acute diseases are the ones which are there only for a few days or months, okay, and then they disappear and we don't even know that we had the disease. Whereas the chronic are the ones which last for a very long time, maybe even a lifetime, like supposing a person develops the disease diabetes. So that becomes chronic, because once a person has diabetes, it is going to be there with him for the entire life. So a cancer or some heart attack and so on. So major malfunctioning of the body which is going to last for a long time is said to be the chronic disease. Whereas when we have some fever, some stomach upset, some loose stools or some cold, so that is going to be there maybe a week or 10 days or a month and so on, and then it disappears and we don't even know that we had that disease for some time. We regain our health properly. So that is said to be the acute disease. So the acute diseases have no bad effect on our health. Our health restores back normally, and we won't even remember we had that disease. Maybe you had a cold and you won't even remember after a month that you had cold. It just lasted for 3 or 4 days and you were perfectly all right after that. Whereas the chronic diseases, they have long-term bad effects, children, okay, on our general health. Like a person may lose weight, or he remains tired all the time, or he remains breathless, or he remains inactive, he has less stamina, less energy, and so on. So that the chronic diseases, they make the body generally weak. Okay. Then in the acute diseases, the person usually recovers fully after the treatment. Once the person is treated with, when he had stomach upset, he had some food poisoning, so maybe it takes about a week or 10 days, then he recovers fully after the treatment and is back to his normal health. Whereas in the chronic diseases, the person does not recover completely, right? So that disease is maybe going to be with him for the lifetime and he has to live with it. So for example, the main examples, the very common examples, cold, cough, cholera, that is stomach upset, dysentery and so on. Whereas the chronic, tuberculosis, diabetes, cancer, heart attack and so on, so which really lasts for a very, very long time. Now next we talk about as we discussed in the flowchart, that diseases can also be infectious and non-infectious. So infectious diseases are the ones which occur due to the external factors, and non-infectious, they occur due to the internal factors, like any malfunctioning of the body or organ and so on. So that is within that person, it won't be spread to another person, right? Whereas infectious may be caused due to some air, water or some insects and so on. So once that disease is there, then it can pass from one person to another. Now these are caused by the pathogens. The infectious diseases are caused by the pathogens like bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoa and the worms. Whereas the non-infectious are caused by the factors other than the living organisms. As I told you, there's some deficiency in the body or some like some malfunctioning of the organ and so on, right? Then the infectious can be spread from infected to a healthy person, right? Like we have malaria. Malaria is now spread by the female Anopheles mosquito, and the malarial parasite Plasmodium is the one which causes malaria. So what happens is when the mosquito bites a person affected with malaria, it sucks the blood. So the Plasmodium or the malarial parasite goes into the body of the mosquito. So that mosquito, when it is going to bite a healthy person, so while sucking the blood of the healthy person, it will transmit that malarial parasite to the healthy person, and the person will also be affected with malaria. So that is spread by the a vector or an insect. So this is a kind of a communicable disease, whereas the non-infectious, they will not be spread from one person to infected to a healthy person. So this infectious diseases are transmitted either through direct contact, that is the physical, or the sexual contact, right? Supposing a person is having any skin infection or something, and the person in other persons in his family, those who are in close contact with him, and they're using his towels or they're using the beddings and so on, so that the whatever skin allergy or skin disease that person is having is definitely going to be transmitted to the other person in the family if they are utilizing the same like you could say clothes or handkerchief or the bedding and so on. So that is physical or sexual contact, or even through a medium like air, water, food, and insects. So that is all. These are the causes or the agents of the infectious diseases. Whereas the non-infectious ones, they are actually the causes hereditary. They are the hereditary diseases, so which occurs from parents to the offspring. Like diabetes, usually the parents who have diabetes, usually the children also have those genes, and they may also be having their diabetes because the genes they've got from the parents. And usually when a person goes to get himself examined for any kind of cancer or heart attack or high cholesterol or diabetes and so on, so the first thing the doctors asked is there somebody having it in your family, maybe your parents and so, because then the genes of that particular disease are passed on to the children. So for example, the cancers are caused by the genetic abnormalities, that is, and high BP also can be caused by excessive weight and lack of exercise. And usually the even parents who are having this hypertension and so on, so even sometimes maybe the children may be also having these diseases. So they are genetic or they're hereditary diseases, and they're not passed by just the transmitted in direct contact with each other, right? Now, on the basis of the infectious agents, we have the communicable or the infectious diseases are which are caused by the pathogens, and they are of the following types. So depending upon the infectious agent which it is. So that these days, as you know, we are talking about this coronavirus. So the virus itself means it is a disease which is COVID-19 is caused by coronavirus, okay? And so first let's talk about the viral diseases which are caused by viruses. For example, common cold is also a kind of a flu which is called by rhinovirus. Then the measles, smallpox, chickenpox, polio, AIDS as you know we've done earlier, it's caused by HIV, that is human immune virus, dengue, etc. So these are all the diseases which are caused by the viruses. Then we have certain diseases caused by bacteria. For example, cholera. Then we have typhoid. We have tuberculosis, leprosy. Leprosy is also skin disease for person, whereas the person has wounds and which have pus and all on the body. And this is also a major chronic skin disease. Then we have tetanus and dysentery. Then the diseases caused by fungi, that is the fungal diseases, that is the common skin diseases which are caused by the fungi, right? Then we have like for example the ringworm or the athlete's foot and so on. Then the protozoan diseases which are caused by protozoa. For example, malaria, as I told you, is caused by the female Anopheles mosquito, which is the carrier, which is the vector. But the male Plasmodium vivax, that is a protozoan. And then the sleeping sickness is also caused by this protozoa, and the kala azar and so on. Then we have the helminth diseases. These are caused by the worms. Okay, you've done. We will be studying like in the chapter biodiversity as to the various worms which cause the diseases. For example, intestinal worms, the infection caused by the tapeworm, the roundworm, the elephantiasis is a disease which is caused by the filarial worms. So these are the 5 types of infectious agents which are causing the diseases.